Acevedo Aesthetics Corp. This is Made in House. It's the show where we chat through various topics on design, culture, and the business of creativity. Now say hello and welcome Kary and Angel.
Made in House, episode 5000. Hey everybody, I'm Angel Acevedo.
Kary Acevedo, welcome.
Kary Acevedo, both world-renowned, award-winning creative directors. Emmy.
Can you do that in your radio voice? Come on, you're going back to radio now. You got to practice.
That's supposed to be a secret,
okay.
But
we won't disclose anything else.
Emmy award-winning designer Karielys Cruz.
But babe, I'll take it.
Yeah,
I'll take it.
You take it. I even went back to Cruz. Babe, it is Thanksgiving week.
It is.
And I want to say I'm thankful for you and your life and our son's life, little Hootie.
Yeah.
He's out with the nanny running errands, apparently. And it's already the end of the year. I can't even believe it. Mm-hmm. A lot has happened.
Yes.
How are you feeling about it?
I feel good about it. I always get a little antsy. It's the end of the year. Did I do everything? Got to get ready for 2024. But I'm trying to be chill about it and in the moment.
Yeah.
But I'm also weird. I'm 33. What did I do in my 33rd year? I'm going to be 34. It's a lot. But I feel good. It's been a good year.
Wait till you get to my age. I don't think that, that's the stuff that happens in your 30s. In your 40s, you're like, you know what? I survived another year. I'm thankful for it.
Babe, you should be saying, no, you're 75. Anyway, guys, happy Thanksgiving coming up in a few days.
Yeah.
Feliz Día del Pavo.
Acción de Gracias.
Perdón, Acción de Gracias. Wow.
Yeah.
Feliz Día de Acción de Gracias.
Something like that.
Sí. We're thankful for you guys. Thank you for tuning in and supporting the channel.
Right.
Thank you to everybody. I always say this. I like labeling it because they all matter. A like, a count, a subscribe, a follow. Mm-hmm. They all mean the world to us.
Share.
So, yeah, thank you for being on the journey with us. And before we get into today's topic, Angel had a fun idea. So you guys know we launched memberships, and those are our financial supporters. Thank you to everybody who helps us buy mugs. So dumb. But Angel had a cool idea of we gotta name you guys, these VIPs, these members, residents. I don't know.
Right.
So what do you want to do, Angel?
So we had some ideas of what to name our members, and originally we're like, designers, because we use that pretty often.
Yeah.
But then I was thinking roommates. What up, roommates?
But I feel like I'm in college.
House Nation. What up, House Nation?
Okay.
No. Housemates, maybe. Guest mates. What was another? Residents. No, there was a few that you pulled up.
I didn't know we were supposed to remember.
I don't know. I don't know. What?
Members. What was the other one?
Members only.
I forgot already.
Yeah. Revengers. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna put a poll on the platforms. We're gonna put a poll. I know Spotify allows us to put polls, and Instagram will probably be able to put a poll as well. YouTube, I'm not really too sure because anyway, we're gonna put a poll. We'll put the poll, and then you guys decide what you want to name yourselves, and especially the members. Really, what title should we give you? Mm-hmm. So there's a few that we like already, you guys can decide.
Yes.
Right.
And then we'll let you know what the official name is. So pick wisely, because
you're stuck with it forever.
We're having to say this.
So.
All right. Well, thank you guys, and happy Thanksgiving.
Well,
for today's segment, we are having a conversation that actually came in as a comment a few months ago, And we're going to be talking about the future of graphic design and artificial intelligence. Now, if you watched episode 1, you know that we went to Adobe Max and we were there in Los Angeles at the convention center. And they actually have, it was my first time there. So it's Adobe Max is a mix of like a conference mixed in with like a product launch. So like think of like Apple when they release a new iPhone and they do their keynote. It's a mix of that. So their keynote, they call it sneaks, like a sneak peek, sneaks. And so we attended, and they actually show a bunch of the new technology that's about to come out. And I think they showed 7 to 10 things, and I believe all of them, if not most of them, had artificial intelligence integrated into them. And so you guys are already familiar and you're in the know that AI has kind of blown up, and it's everywhere now. Every service or platform is offering some form of AI, and now it's embedded. It's been embedded into the software that us designers and creatives use, the Adobe Creative Suite. And so I'm sure you've seen it, generative fill, and I don't know what they're called. Do you know what they're called?
I mean, there's a bunch of different ones.
Okay.
But yeah, generative fill was
It's
sort
one
of
of
the
them.
introduction.
Right.
And I want to say earlier in the year, Photoshop Beta was released.
Yes.
And that's where Adobe was testing
Yes.
generative fill. And that's sort of what like got everybody sort of buzzed.
So today's conversation, that attending Adobe Max it kind of piqued an interest in us to think about the future of graphic design. So today's conversation, we're going to be talking about AI. We're going to share some thoughts on where we think graphic design is going to go. And we're going to share some tips and tricks of things that we're doing and we're going to start applying into our lives that hopefully you can integrate into yours to make us successful, but also stand out. Because not only do we live in a very competitive industry as it is, with just the open access that technology has afforded us in social media, now AI it's about to transform the entire thing. Right. So, Angel, any thoughts? Do you want to kick us off with the Adobe tech or?
Yeah. Just a couple notes. One is AI. You were saying AI is going to change the landscape. AI has already changed the landscape.
True.
There is no turning back. And the cool thing is, well, cool may be subjective depending on who you ask. Mm-hmm. The interesting thing is, it's a better phrase, is that if you were to talk to us 2 years ago, right? Hey, this is coming, or this is happening, or whatever. There's no way. At least me personally, I don't know about you. Me personally, I would have been like, how is that even going to happen? How is it that you're going to be able to manipulate or do content aware or generative fill in a video and remove people and there's no way. Like how is that technology even possible?
Right.
And at least my introduction to AI was Midjourney, where Midjourney, you can actually add prompts. It's a Discord server where you can add prompts and you can create artworks based on the learnings of that Midjourney the input into Midjourney, right? So the creators of Midjourney, the machine learned a bunch of everything about everything up until, I don't know, 2022 or something like that. I don't remember. But and that was controversial because I can literally give me a cityscape with Kary on the rooftop dressed as this person in the style of Frank Miller, which is a comic book illustrator, and it will generate something similar to that. The controversy about that is that where are these learnings coming from? There's intellectual property issues, people taking my style or taking someone else's style and whatever. That was my whole introduction, which was Midjourney, and I used it for fun, and I created little things, wallpapers and stuff, and I was thinking of like, how can we use this? How can you even monetize something like that when you're taking other people's work? And I personally don't necessarily think that there's a way of doing it without copyright infringement. For inspo, great. to sell stuff. I don't know. Then recently, which we were just talking about it, Photoshop, Adobe started, unbeknownst to us, they've been working on it, I guess, for a long time, which is introducing AI into Photoshop and Illustrator, Premiere. And the reason we talk about these softwares is because this is what we use on a daily basis. So I'm sure there's other AIs or other platforms that are using AI. But now that sort of Pandora's box has been opened, you notice AI is on everything. Yes. AI is on Shopify. AI is on Quora.com. AI is in chat. When you're chatting with, tell me what it is that you're looking for, whatever. It's like an explosion of just artificial intelligence, which I don't even know if that's the right term, but essentially that. And it's everywhere now. And Kary and I were thinking, and just Kary posed a question. It's like, so now that it's here. What does the future of graphic design and our industry, what will that look like? How can we stay up to date? Are we going to lose our jobs? Are we going to how much are we going to be affected by this? It's not about how much, it's not if, it's about how much.
When and how,
and how much. So yeah, all that intro to say is that I personally, and don't cancel me in the comments, but I think AI, the usage of AI, if done correctly and if done ethically, I think it's a tool that can be used to supplement your arsenal of creative, in your, it's just a tool that you can maximize. But there are going to be people that are going to take advantage and create stuff, say on Midjourney or this other stuff, and then put it on DTG and put it to print. That's going to happen. It's just part of it, but that's what we're going to dive into today. Yeah. My long intro to say I'm excited about it. I don't know. I think it's going to be cool.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, to kick it off, let's start getting into some conversation topics. We both did our intros, and so let's just start at the very beginning. AI is powered by data. I don't know if that's a common knowledge, but I learned that recently. It makes sense now that I know it, but it's powered by data. And I was doing a little bit of research and kind of getting myself caught up on it. And basically, that's the goal now, to input as much data into these computers as possible so that they're able to use the data. And I think right now, I was reading that the focus is like, I think on medical and I believe finances, because those are industries that already have a lot of data integrated into their workflows. But it's only going to get more maximized, and that is going to lead into things that we're already seeing, which is it's going to help with decision making. It's going to help automate certain things. It will displace certain jobs, and it will create others as AI it's going to grow. You said it, it's here to stay. When these technologies kind of evolve and they become part of our everyday, there's really no turning back. You know, it's like the computer revolution. There's negatives to computer or the internet, but it's part of our everyday life, and we've learned how to live with it. And that was a big disruptor, the internet, when it came about, and we've adjusted, and now we have AI. And so let's just answer the question. I want your opinion on what you think the future of graphic design is. Before we start getting into like the tips and things that we're integrating into our workflows, where do you think it's going to lead us? How is the industry or specific industry going to change?
Man, that's it's like the loaded question. I will say, based on what you just said, people are always going to oppose progress, right? Since the beginning of man, people thought that when things were made, they're like, oh, well, this was better. Well, that was better. When people were doing graphic design in the 80s and 90s in computers, what did you call it? Computer graphics? Computer graphics. Is it defectors or the naysayers were like, well, that's not real design. You're using moving pixels, or computers doing the work for you. So there's always going to be that. Yeah. And which I don't necessarily disagree. I just always think that things evolve. For the future of graphic design is such a big industry that it encompasses different. You're talking about UI, UX, product design, packaging, poster art or identity and all that stuff. I think it's going to look different for everybody. However, I do think that if done correctly, or if you're savvy, I feel like your workflow is just going to get better, or it should get better. Like we said, AI is here, and it's going to be integrated in a lot of our lives in one way or the other. And for graphic design, 5 years from now or 10 years from now, man, I just think our workflows are just going to be faster, and either you adapt or you get left behind, you know? So at least for me personally, I'm just taking I like identity design. I like merch design, let's say, or album artwork, let's say. Using AI to sort of start mood boarding or concepting or create things that, you know, we usually go to Pinterest, we go to Behance, we go to Dribbble. Mm-hmm. Imagine putting a prompt in something and pulling up really specific things that you have in your brain. And then from there, sort of building off of that, creating some kind of sort of foundational direction. Yeah. Not necessarily using that specific result as the actual final piece, but sort of to set a foundation and a tone for whatever it is that you're working on, you know? So, at least for me, that's how I essentially see it, as just the word escapes me, but as a kickstart or as like a launch that just gives me that extra naz or boost that's going to save me time and make me more efficient. Yeah. Again, going back to the ethical aspect of it, there are people that are going to be like, maybe taking advantage of this in a way where it's morally questionable, you know. But as us, all graphic designers that are good people, I feel like this is just going to be a tool, at least in the coming years, for you to just maximize your work and get better, and maybe potentially even learn new ways of finding, or new shortcuts of finding solutions. An example would be Adobe introduced generative vectors, and we saw this at Max, and the whole room was like, what? So you can input something, and it'll... Now, granted, this is my opinion. Objectively speaking, or subjectively? Subjectively speaking, the vectors are not that great. They're okay, you know, but they're not that great. Cool thing is they can only get better. And the question is, where are they getting where's the computer learning is coming from? That's another sort of issue. But to start off with something like that, to mood board, create storyboard ideas, or create sort of foundational materials, I think it's a good start. But yeah, I feel like it's one of those things. I think I mentioned it already, but as designers, we need to consider the cost of what this is going to look like. Look at your process, see what you can implement and how that's going to work. Find opportunities or gaps that you can fill, and then charge more money, because it's now you're doing it more efficiently. Now it's adding more value, you know, to your whole industry, and to your whole role, and to your whole expertise. So, What do you think about that?
You bring up really great points, and it's funny. We've said this in the pod before, but we don't necessarily have these combos before we're on the show. And so I'm hearing it for the first time, and it's interesting to hear your perspective. And it's very you, by the way, like, obviously, but I'm not surprised that you're answering that way. I think for me, I've been thinking about it for a little bit. And at first, when I started thinking about it, I was like, I'm not sure. And then as I've kind of just been learning, not just about AI, but like I'm always watching YouTubes, and I don't know, I'm always trying to learn as much as I can. This is my current opinion of it. I think the automation comes into time efficiency, right? So everything in the world is just getting faster. And I think humans are obsessed with time and with getting as much of it as possible. Right. And I think these technologies are introduced, and my opinion is that their main why they exist is to create optimizations and give us more time, right? So taking that into account and then kind of looking at the evolution of how the software in the industry has changed. So we start with Photoshop, let's say, which I believe was the first program that was created. And if I have my history right, it was created out of, who's the guy that invented Star Wars? I forget his name. George Lucas. There's a great documentary of this on Disney Plus, and it's on his company. I forgot the name. Something Magic or Light.
Yeah.
I'm not. Okay, he had a company. He created this company basically to make Star Wars because the technology didn't exist. He's just always been an innovator. Part of the evolution of him starting this company is the first iteration of Photoshop. And I'm just going to leave it there. And then from there, you get Pixar and animation, computer animation, and stuff like that. Okay, so think of Photoshop. And Photoshop is a really powerful tool. I think when you first start learning Photoshop, it's intimidating and it's overwhelming. And the reason is you're starting from scratch. Yeah. It's a blank canvas and the possibilities are endless. Right. Now, move forward a few years, we have Canva. And I had all my feelings about Canva. Obviously, when I look at it from a graphic designer standpoint, I'm like, you're devaluing my industry. When I look at it from a business standpoint, I'm like, I understand why that solution is there, you know? But now Canva makes it a drag and drop situation. So now if you need graphic design, you don't have to hire somebody because you don't know how to use the software. Mm-hmm. Now you just do a drag and drop based on a bunch of templates that maybe a good designer or not so great designer put together. Right? Now from drag and drop, now we're just straight up into text. Because now I can just put into a field, hey, make me whatever, or add or change this background into this. And that means that anybody can type. So now you're going from like a very specialized industry where it was a high skill set and a degree was required or some form of learning that was very specialized into now you can easily get the software because they're not in CDs. It don't cost that much money anymore. It's a subscription now. You download the software, you can watch a YouTube, and you type something in, and that's just where it's going to go. I know it's in the earlier phases of that, but that's just got kind of where it's going to go. So now I'm like confronted with like, is my industry, my specialty going to die? Am I not going to be valued anymore? Because now Joe Schmo can come in and type something in and do almost what I can. Now the caveat is that good enough. I know. Good enough is good enough these days.
Sure.
A lot of people get by with mediocre design.
Yeah.
You know, and they make a lot of money doing it, and we have our opinions on it, but it's real and it's a possibility. Obviously, the best brands have really great design and marketing attached to them, but the reality is you can get by. And a lot of people that label themselves graphic designers that get by very perfectly fine just doing what we would deem average work. Okay. Yeah. So this is the question that I got myself into. Now I have a lot more thoughts into when I'm asking myself this, what am I going to do to make myself valuable? And I'll get into that, but I want to hear your thoughts on everything that I just said.
Yeah. It's a lot to, oh gosh, this is going to be like a 2-hour episode.
No.
So how much time we got, by the way? Okay. I'll say a quick thought and then we'll take a break.
Yeah.
Okay. So I did want to mention that Adobe Firefly, of what I saw, and a shout out to Michael from Adobe Create Now. And he's the Adobe evangelist. We talked about it once. He's like my best friend now. And I saw what Adobe Firefly can do. And yeah, no hate on Canva. I always thought that there's like Canva memes because it's like you're a graphic designer and then and then they say, oh, what kind of software? Oh, Canva, and then whatever. It's just they roast the Canva people. No hate to the Canva. I mean, it's fine. It exists for particular.
But we don't use it. People that have businesses that don't want to hire a graphic designer use it.
That there's a market for it.
Yes.
Now Adobe Firefly just boosted that, and now you can do all kinds. You can do animations and all kinds of crazy things with it. I'm from the mindset, and this comes from comes from the school of Chris Do. Is that us as designers, we don't need to be worried about designers on Upwork that are charging $5 for $50 for a logo. So that's not even the market that we're trying to, that's not even the place where we're trying to be at. If you're trying to compete with those people, you're going to be a drop on the ocean because there's just so many. And I feel like it lands in that same space of like people that are using templates or using Canva or Adobe Firefly or whatever. By all means, shout out to them. Great job. Good for you. But that's not the space that I'm trying to compete at. But more so because we've been in the industry for some time now. And we're already at a different sort of caliber of work. And I mean, there's something to be said about getting when AI or when that kind of stuff starts disrupting our spaces. And also it's disrupting the spaces of the younger designers or the junior designers that may not be able to get work or build their portfolio because of, Canva or people, or like you said, like a little boutique using Canva but I think at some point something's got to give. And I think that these business owners that are using these sort of softwares to kind of get by, at some point they're just going to run it. I don't have time for this. They're going to have to find somebody to do it. And I mean, maybe that's me being optimistic, but I feel like at that point it's going to be like, there's always going to be room for the junior designer to grow as long as you're able to stay up to date with the tools that exist.
Yeah. So I partially disagree. And I think that
Interesting. Go ahead.
I don't see it going away. Okay. And I just think that the world of graphic design is going to have to get more specialized. And like if you think of the history, and again, I was reading a lot, and so that's why I'm kind of thinking this way. But I looked up the history of graphic design, and they start from like 3800 BC with calligraphy and the symbols. Great. Now, when you kind of look at the history, right, it just starts like in a very human form way. And then you have writing, then you get into printing, then you get into digital. And then now you have this explosion in digital of AI, where now it's a computer that is making decisions for you. Now, when you and I went to school, we got taught very much in traditional format, because even though tech was part of it, I guess the school was kind of behind. I went to school 2012, and I got taught traditional graphic design, printing, advertising. Social media was starting, and I know this because I found a lot of my schoolwork where I would do a lot of stuff about social media and how it would change the industry or whatever, because it was new. Instagram and stuff was new. And the web that I learned, the UI and the UX, which was like the big thing that we're just coming out of, was a very small bit of my education. And then when I get out and I'm in the real world, that's a big part of everything that I do now. It's creating digital content for websites, apps, social media, whatever. And so now that you have AI that's able to take data, because now AI, it removes the human equation to some extent. Okay. So now think of like how you do graphic design. You do your research. We have our creative process, right? Our 3 phases. You start with your research, then you start with your exploration, you implement. Well, research, you use AI. The more data that it gets, the easier. Hey, what's the favorite color of a 20-year-old who has these hobbies?
Right.
And it'll spit it out to you. You don't have to spend time doing it. And so all of these things that like a junior designer does, I just think that it's going to get replaced by AI. And I think
Wow,
it's just going to
okay.
get more specialized. And I think the graphic designer really should spend some time thinking about the evolution of who they're going to be. Because here's my key takeaway. We've got to become more human in order to compete with AI.
Okay, I
And
love
we
that.
live in this world where we use technology and we've lost some of our humanity with social media and kind of doing what everybody else. And what I mean by humanity, I mean your uniqueness, what makes you a human, your DNA. And I think we got to go back to that a little bit. And I'll share more thoughts on that. But I feel like you're Googling, you got something to say.
Yeah, I have a. No, I'm just taking. I'm taking notes of what you're saying because I have a couple of thoughts.
Yes.
And one is, and I do want to say this because I do talk to illustrators. I follow, creatives. We both follow creatives from all different aspects of the industry, and I feel like the most affected by, for example, things like Midjourney, are illustrators, like artists, that are adamantly against the use of their work to be used as data for these machines, or for these AI systems. And I wholeheartedly agree. I think that that's messed up. And so what I was writing is, where is the data coming from? Where is it coming from? If it's stuff which, by the way, I don't know if it's OpenSea, but I just saw there's like this big lawsuit against, I don't know if it's ChatGPT or Midjourney or one of these. There's this big lawsuit from artists of like, where is the AI learning these things from? Because we have to be clear, there's multiple different types of AI, or at least multiple different aspects of the AI, which is one is the visual elements, another one's like text, copy, another one's like creating video or whatever it may be. All that stuff it's pulling from different things, and that's, I feel like, the main issue, or the people that have the biggest issue with is like, where are we getting this data from? And it's not just from the public domain, it's from other stuff. So if I wanted to say, hey, create me a logo like Draplin and give me whatever, and it generates a vector and I'm selling it, I have a big problem. That's messed up. That's a big issue. And I think just this current administration, I don't know if you saw, they're just, I didn't get into the details of it, but now they're passing legislation to moderate AI, because apparently it's just, there's a lot of concerns about it with deep fakes and things like that. So anyway, that was my one thing. It's like, where's this data coming from? You're saying that the junior designers will probably be affected the most, right?
I didn't say the most.
sorry.
I just, I don't think that tier of graphic design may exist in 20 years.
And this is the only thing that I would say to that.
Tell me.
I don't necessarily disagree. I do think AI just helps you maximize your time, again, depending on which one you're using, to get faster to a solution, as long as you're not using what AI came up with as the solution, right? But there are Instagram accounts based on there's one that's called, man, I don't know why I bring this up and then I forget what it.
I do the same thing, yeah.
But one that it's essentially like a retrofuturism Instagram account that all it does is reimagine things in a retrofuturistic way, and the feed is just prompts that the guy got really good at telling Midjourney to create like a car in the styles of the 80s but set in the year 3000, things like that. I think I've showed you this. It's like, or a little beeper. What if the beeper was still around with the technology? A beeper is a pager for the youths. If it still existed or whatever, and everything's like creamy colored and analog or whatever. And this guy just got really good at making these prompts, and getting this sort of a aesthetic done. So there is something to be said, and that's what I'm saying. I don't necessarily disagree that in 20 years, the junior designer role or that role is not going to be affected, because it is. But if that's the case, and just get good at it, and like you're saying, like niche down and find your space, or find the gap that you're able to fill. And if you're not able to, we did the same thing. We had our own side projects and our own side things and our own unsolicited redesigns and our own imagine kind of designs, where we're able to just create stuff to just have in our portfolio. You just have to be aggressive is not the right word, but you just have to be very proactive about it and make sure you use these tools to your advantage, as opposed to being like, okay, well, there goes that. I'm going to shift my career because now Canva or Adobe Firefly is doing flyers or whatever. No, just adapt to it and learn Firefly or learn whatever and offer that service. It's like, you know what, I could take this off your hands, because I feel like at the end of the day, what people value the most is time. So if you're able to save them time, it could be a way for you as a junior designer to get into that space. So I don't know. I kind of agree. And
yeah, I think we're defining junior graphic designer differently.
Okay, sure.
I'm talking about a junior designer only exists in a corporation. A person who opens Photoshop and does design does not call themselves a junior designer. They're a graphic designer,
sure,
at the very least,
Yeah.
or they're an art director, or the creative director.
Yeah.
So I'm saying, from the corporation standpoint, what is the benefit of having a junior graphic designer? Sure, they may still have the name, but as you're saying, maybe that person's just writing in prompts. But is that a graphic designer?
Sure.
Is that what a graphic designer is going to become in the future?
Right.
That's the kind of the conversation that we're having, you
Yeah.
know? I guess I'm going to talk about how I'm dealing,
Okay.
how I'm coping with it. So I have recently started thinking about really understanding what I'm good at. And this started actually at my talk at Elevation Church, which we talked about in episode 1, where I wrote down my 7 design principles or philosophies. I had never done that. It was just for the sake of like explaining. It was the easiest way for me to do that.
Right.
And that kind of kicked off a process for me of understanding who I am as a creative, my opinion, my input, and really trying to dive into and understand what my specialty or value is, especially when I am up against a technology that I'm not going to always win against. And I'm talking in terms of a corporate format.
Sure.
Okay. So here's 2 things that I'm focusing on. Number 1, like I mentioned earlier, is understanding my own personal humanity, my own uniqueness, and my own DNA. And I think that takes reflection. I think that takes time, because the one thing that AI can't do is be human, obviously, right? And understanding who you are as a person, what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are. I think it's really important that everybody kind of do a SWOT, at very least the strengths and the weaknesses of who you are as a person.
Yeah.
Something that I have been forced to do that. I never had a day where like I sat down and I wrote down what my strengths and my weaknesses were. I think through my work and working with a team and having to make decisions and managing budgets and things like that, I have had to be careful with what I'm confident in or where I put my confidence in. And sometimes putting my confidence in myself to do something was not the best decision. So I had to find other people. And through that process, I feel like I started understanding what my strengths and my weaknesses are.
Right.
And so just to talk about a few, I'm very organized. I can keep a timeline. I can hold people accountable. I understand very well objectives, and I can understand what people want their ROI to be. And so I take that information and then I leverage people to execute and make it happen.
I'm really glad you're self-aware. That's
Yes.
really, because all those things are very true.
Am I the best graphic designer? No. Am I good at illustrating? No. Can I direct a full video? No. Can I direct a photo shoot? Can I tell you what to wear? No. I can give the big picture based on the keys that I know I need to achieve, but I need people to do that. So that's one way that I'm learning who I am and what I bring to the table. Part of that also is emotional intelligence. AI is not going to be able to have emotion. So working on your own EQ. Again, this is homework that I've been doing for a few years because of my work at VU Church. And some of the trainings that they give us have had to do with EQ. And so me understanding, do I have emotional intelligence in this category, in that category?
Right.
What I've learned about myself is that I can forfeit a person for the sake of a task. I'm very task oriented.
Okay.
And so I can diminish the feelings of somebody because I need to get the task done. And so just having that awareness helps me know who I am and what my strengths are and what my weaknesses are. Something that I'll say is being honest about my weaknesses has actually helped me. It elevates me. I was in the meeting. I'm going off topic a little bit. I was in a meeting this week, and the meeting was pitched to me, like not just to me, to everybody. We're just going to show up and have a convo. Great. I was not prepared. I showed up. And the person's like, okay, Kary, take it away. And I was like, okay. So I just did it. I did it. And so then some of the things that we were talking about for the work, I just know that I'm not great at. So I was honest about that. And so then it creates a trust and an awareness with people that I work with that, oh, she understands X, Y, and Z. Anyway.
That's really good, actually.
I have one more.
Yeah, go for it.
What was my... Oh, yeah. Do you want to add to that?
No. I just to second or echo that I feel like I've been trying to be more transparent with my weaknesses and realize the things that I can do or I'm not necessarily good at, and I've been leaning on other people, and we've hired people to sort of fill those gaps. So 100%.
And to your point of like optimizing, I think that's an area that can help, that AI can help you optimize. Right. You know, I'm not a great copywriter. I know what I want the copy to sound like, so I use ChatGPT, you know, things like that. I know that I don't want to spend this much time doing this, but I think AI can also amplify the things that you're really good at if you know how to put the prompts or whatever. Here's the second one. And this is something that Chris Do has me thinking about, and it's personal branding. Mm-hmm. And the reason I wanted to have this conversation is because I think a lot of us, we become graphic designers, right? And what do we need? I need a logo for my website and my business card and for Instagram, whatever, you know? That's it. That's all we do, right? What else? Maybe you pick a color palette. Maybe you pick a font. Sure. That's it. I have never in my entire career have spent time thinking about who the heck I am and what I offer outside of I'm a multidisciplinary graphic designer that does work in web, blah, blah, blah. You know?
Talking about parentheses, don't lose that thought. But I removed the multidisciplinary thing because everybody's a multidisciplinary. Yeah. You have to be as a graphic designer. It's like, yeah, I do web and UI and logo and whatever. So yeah, just because you're multidisciplinary, it's not that
we learned.
Impressive. Yeah. Go ahead.
So I've never really done the work. And so Crystal, he's like into that right now. He's teaching it a lot. And his keynote at Adobe Max had to do with personal branding. Right. But I do think it ties into understanding who you are and what you offer and what you bring to the table and how you compete. So like, it's not just saying, hey, I'm a graphic designer and I do web and I do packaging and I do print design and I do app design. No. Hi, my name is Kary. I'm from Puerto Rico. I'm really good at managing a team, understanding your budget, keeping your timeline, meeting your goals. Yeah. And I do that with Photoshop, Google Sheets, all these other different tools, you know? Yeah. And it's kind of like thinking about yourself in a little bit more holistic way, a little bit more 360. Because I think the industry is just going to get so competitive. It's just too open. Yeah, it's like, saturated. How do I compete with a kid who's 23, besides time and experience that I have the advantage on? But like, you know, when you put on these videos, it's like, just 15-year-old created this animation using whatever.
Yeah.
And you're like, dang, that took me 10 years to learn.
Yeah.
You know? How do you compete? And I just think it's understanding who you are and what your value is, what you bring to the table outside of I do print design. You do print design because why? You know? And so personally, that's what I'm going to focus on to give myself an edge, continue giving myself an edge, and growing and maturing. I also don't have the, what do you call it? Like the energy to put out a bunch of work and to do so many things. You know, you get older, so you kind of niche down and you understand more of what you're doing. But that's my personal answer to AI and how I plan to compete in the future. I could be right, I could be wrong. We'll see, you know, how it plays out. But right now, I'm not very interested in learning how to put a text prompt. I'm interested in
Sure.
managing the person, because maybe my mindset has been transformed, but everything to me just evolves around just like the corporation, the business of design at the end of the day.
I just think that you and I are at different seasons. I don't want to say like levels or we're better than. We're just at different seasons in our career. And going back to the 15-year-old reference that you said, Kary referenced a 15-year-old that, and we'll put it in the description when we put our links, that redid the Into the Spider-Verse, the Spider-Verse second movie trailer with Legos, I think.
Was it?
Yeah, it was with Legos, but I think it was
Animated,
right.
Okay.
I'm not sure if it was stop motion or if it was Blender or one of these
I
things.
think it was Blender.
It was right. Which Kary just proved my point, because this 15-year-old used the tools at hand to skip 20 years and created this incredible trailer, literally shot for shot, of the Spider-Verse movie, right? So much so that they hired him for a scene in the movie. The Lego scene of Peter Parker in the Spider-Verse movie, where he's like walking in, he's like, oh my gosh, something's happening to the Matrix or whatever the heck it was. That was him, done by a 15-year-old. I don't know if he's 15 now or he was 15, but I just feel like I'm more, because I'm more on the optimistic side of things. And I'm not saying that you're not I'm saying me, I like to look at it from that perspective, that these tools can really, if you use them right as a junior or as a young designer, say young, early in your career, they can accelerate your growth. The only caveat, or the only, I guess the kicker to that would be, you just need to make sure that you understand the fundamentals that go along with your whatever industry you're in, because you can also get lazy too. And you're like, well, I'll just put a this or whatever and I'll get this kicked out. And you don't understand, as for graphic design perspective, how hierarchy works, what's better as far as type goes, copy and this, that, or whatnot. So, I wholeheartedly agree with you. And
But how do you compete with that 15-year-old, Angel?
I mean, I don't. I just compete in a different industry altogether, you know? So I get what you're saying. If I was like, let's just say I was an animator, right? And I did trailers or whatever, and this kid just blew it out of the water with Blender. If I was in that industry, I'd be like, I need to get it together, man. I don't know how long it took this kid to do it, but he did put in the work too.
But no, let's be for real. You're 42 years old, okay? And you have a 15-year-old. Forget that it's an animated thing. Just think about graphic design. Okay, let's think about...
I get you. Doing like a packaging campaign or something.
Sure.
Yeah.
And he beat you to the punch. And he got acknowledged and hired by somebody that you've, in all your 42 years, have not been able to get their attention. So, like, how do you compete with that is what I'm saying. Like, us that are already in it, I'm not concerned about the people that are coming after us because they're growing up in it. So it's different for them, you know.
I understand.
For us who we go from print to digital to now having AI, how do we adapt?
Yeah.
And how do we keep our edge, you know?
mean, that's what we're trying to figure out. I don't know. You know, man.
It's okay. You don't, You don't have to have an answer.
No,
Maybe
I'm not.
just how
I'm
do you
just,
feel?
No, but now you're pondering, like you planted the seed, and I'm like, yeah, how do I get hired by Marvel if like you have these kids that are just crushing? But for some reason, I'm like, I feel like there's room for everybody. I don't know, I just feel like in my heart of hearts, I feel like there's always space for different types of,
There is.
yes. So
I'm not in disagreement.
People like that or kids like that, I have no, what's the word? Not issue, but I have no interest in trying to compete with. I'm trying to stay in my lane. I'm not. Let's just say I'm an animator.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna try to stay in my lane and be the best version of myself.
Great.
And not try to be in the rat race of like, oh, now I gotta learn Blender and now I gotta learn stop motion or whatever. I think it's good, and we talked about this in a few episodes. It's good to know the tools that are out there and familiarize yourself. But if you go down that path of like, I need to learn everything that ever existed and everything that's coming out that's new and learn it and be proficient at it and be like the best at it, how are you gonna live life and like how are you gonna enjoy your life if you're just working 24/7? I never, and I'm not to get on a soapbox, I never was of the mentality of like that hustle work 16 hours a day, team no sleep. That never attracted me. I was like, I would much rather do the work that I need to do and enjoy my time off. And as you know, sleep in the mornings and now wake up early and game so I can get inspired to work.
That's like your cycle. That's funny. Great. I agree with you. I don't disagree with you, and that's the good thing in terms of our relationship. That's the good thing about him and I, how we balance each other and keep each other accountable, that he is that way. He's also older, you're wiser. You've been at it for a while, you're still 60. You still got some.
It's funny. God, it makes it seem I'm like 65, about to retire.
No, but it makes a difference, baby. You are older than I am. You've experienced an industry that I haven't experienced. And
even so, like it's not like I started in the early 2000s. Even before that, there's so much that I missed in the 90s and the 80s of like true graphic design, analog, all that stuff. I completely missed that.
But you got the beginning of the internet.
I did get the beginning.
And now you're in the evolution of the next thing.
Of the next thing. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So, anyway, I was saying sometimes I do get caught up in a little bit of the rat race because I'm trying to keep an edge, and he holds me accountable. So thank you for that thought.
Yeah. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Great. So just to wrap our conversation on AI, I think some next steps for you guys. Obviously, you have everything that we shared in this conversation. These are our opinions, and take what you want from it. But some practical next steps are learn what's new in Adobe, because we're all using the software, and start learning it. I do recommend you learn it. Personally, I haven't delved too much into the AI tools within Adobe. I need to, because I need to know how they work. Also, I know I always give this viewpoint, but I oversee staff. I work with people, and knowing what's available and how it optimizes time now helps me be able to say, you should be able to do this in X amount of time, or have you tried this, or whatever. So homework for all of us. Angel's going to share some of Adobe's new technologies. Before we do that, I did want to, I asked people from my community, my AI channel, what they think about AI. So I'm just going to share some stuff.
Gaia too. If you log into Gaia, you'll see some.
Oh, you did it too on Gaia? Oh, let's go. Okay. So most people are optimistic about it, that it's a great tool. Someone here says that it's fun, it saves time, but his human-made work is still his favorite. He also says it does kind of freak him out, but to make it work for you. Some other people do agree that it's a huge time saver, to your point, Angel, but you still need a designer's mind and POV, point of view.
Yep, absolutely.
It's a great tool, not a replacement. Someone here says more mood board creation and a couple of prompts. I actually haven't tried that.
Yeah.
So that sounds like fun.
Yeah.
And then they mentioned this. I haven't heard of this. Gen Recolor is a beauty. You heard of it?
Yeah, the recolor tool in Illustrator.
Okay.
So now it's generative recolor. So now I can select a logo, let's say with a different palette, and I can recolorize it in different styles depending on I want neons or I want pastel.
And it picks
it just
the
selects the
swatches.
whole thing and recolors it. It's really good. It's a game changer for sure.
Great. And somebody else says it's great for brainstorming. I've used it for that. Mood boards and early sketches. I haven't tried early sketches either. So really cool.
Log into Gaia
Let me see.
And
Thoughts on AI and the future. Okay. It's going to make it faster, which is already happening. Another tool in the toolbox. Can't wait to wear Project Primrose. That's one of the sneaks.
oh yeah.
But prompted with a band shirt.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
It will never replace the thoughtfulness of the craft of design.
And I will say this, and because this is not the first time it's come up, I feel like, and this is me again, probably being like a hopeless optimist. I feel like the fact that AI now exists, now it adds so much more value to human-made goods. Anything that's made by a human mind, it's just
True.
exponentially more valuable.
Yes.
You know, so there's something to be said
Yes.
about it. Crafted by hands.
Yes.
Go ahead. Sorry.
The last one. If we don't take advantage of it as a designer, we will be left behind.
What a
So thank you guys for
way to
sharing.
wrap up. That's amazing.
Thank you for sharing. There's
Yeah.
some stuff that I need to try.
Yeah. We're gonna put the Adobe Sneaks link on. Again, we talk a lot about Adobe because that's what we use on a day to day, and we're not sponsored, you know. So, but if they do, I'm gonna say that in every podcast.
You know what we need to do? Go on ChatGPT. ChatGPT, how do we get sponsored by Adobe?
Yeah, I got a pending. I forgot to tell you, I got a pending conversation with someone at Adobe, but and the download.
So Angel, all of a sudden, he's like blowing up.
I'm not blowing
Everybody
up,
wants
fam.
to collaborate.
No.
He's doing a portfolio review this weekend.
Oh, yeah, that's cool.
What else are you doing? Going back to radio.
Babe, you're what is it? You're
Nobody knows
leaking
about radio.
information.
Nobody knows about radio. All right, Adobe Max.
Adobe Max. There's a project called Fast Fill, and you literally select any area in a video, and you can remove people, and it's in the actual video. It's absolutely insane. That looked really cool. Project Draw and Delight. You could draw stuff, and it'll fix it for you, and it'll make other things. We'll skip Project Neo because I'm not an architect. I'll skip this one. Everyone saw the dress. You saw the dress, right? Yeah, it's cool. I think it's cool. But in practical use, I'm not really sure.
I mean, Gaia 2040.
Maybe 2049. Let's see. Project Posable. That's for 3D artists. Project ResUp. See,
That one
that's
was cool.
AI.
That one was cool.
So Project ResUp is one where you can get a low resolution video and it will scale it up and fix it and make it sharp, which honestly I have no idea how they do that, but super cool. Project Dub. You remember that one?
Mm-hmm.
Is one where you can do auto dub videos of yourself and it'll dub it in different languages using your voice.
The same voice.
The same voice.
Yes.
Which is insane.
Yeah.
So if I'm speaking French or speaking whatever, it'll
Yeah.
say the same thing you just said, but and then excuse me, Project Stardust,
Project Stardust.
which is the one where you have an image, and if you want to move people around, you can click them, literally move them, and it'll fill in the rest.
Yeah.
So
All right, guys, a lot going on. The last thing I'm going to say before we end the episode is this is like next level AI. I'm talking a lot about Christo because I have my moments when I dive into his content. He's actually cloning himself. He's putting his brain into AI. Now, the way he does that is all the content he has already shared and put out, it's all going into AI so that he's able to resource more people and educate more people, help more people without the bandwidth of him being a human. Now it's a computer. And so that's another way that people are using AI. So it's not just to amplify our workflows or optimize them. It's also just reaching more people and getting more of you, who you are, your DNA out into the world through machine. So
super cool.
it's incredible.
They did a whole video.
Yeah. Yeah, if
on
you
it.
if
You gotta check
you
it out.
go on YouTube and you look up Crystal
Dobot.
Clone, yeah, he
Dobot,
calls it Dobot. Yeah.
Dobot.
Anyway, that's our combo on AI. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it got your brain thinking, wondering. Take some time to reflect. The year's almost over. We have like a month and a half left. And so,
Yes.
2024. Who are you going to be?
Oh my gosh.
Angel's dying.
I'm
Okay.
dying, guys. Keep making beautiful things and
Happy Thanksgiving.
happy Thanksgiving. And the best things are,
Made in house.
let's go.
We love you guys. Have a good day.
Thank you for joining Made in House. On your way out, if you would be so kind to follow, subscribe and or like our episode in the relevant social media platforms. Feel free to share this episode with your colleagues. And, as always, keep making beautiful things.